everybody, I'm Sin. Welcome to the Book Nook. Today we are going to be talking about a very interesting book. It is called The Diary of Secrets, UFO Conspiracies, and the Mysteries... Oh, I already said it wrong. The Mysterious Death of Marilyn Monroe. Here it is. Diary of Secrets. Ooh. So yeah, we're going to get into this today. Maybe you want to see the cover closer. So this was written by Nick Redfern. And this is another person that we had seen at the Michigan Paracon this past year. Went to his lecture for this, and it was super wild and interesting. And so we decided to pick up the book. My partner was the one who bought it, so we did get it signed, but it doesn't say to Sin, it's to Chris. But it's still signed by Nick Redfern. So it says, to Chris, enjoy the book, all the best, Nick. Right there. Now, Nick Redfern is an author, a journalist, a ufologist, and a cryptozoologist. And he's been doing this for years. You may best know him, possibly have seen him on Ancient Aliens throughout the years. That show now has been on for what seems like forever. And he's been on a ton of other stuff that has to do with aliens and Bigfoot. He's been in a bunch of documentaries and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, so we get into the UFO conspiracies and the possibility of, like, was Marilyn Monroe, was she taken out because of what she knew? Because she was in certain societies, mingling with certain people who knew things in the political world. So that's what we're going to get into today. So it has been suggested that Marilyn's death was not the case of a suicide. Possibly secretly provoked by what she knew about certain secret government secrets. And so this has a ton of information, and they get into a ton of documents, some which they get from the Freedom of Information Act, other ones were sent to them, and it's just a wild ride and a page turner. I don't even know. It's so freaking weird. There was a CIA document from the 1950s, which was called A Study of Assassination, that was released. And I believe Nick Redfern acquired this by the Freedom of Information Act. And it was basically a guide for them to make a death look like something else. Specifically an OD and stuff like that. So, there's all these weird coincidences that kind of align themselves with what led up to her death. So, and for decades too, the CIA, they denied taking an interest in Marilyn Monroe, but they had started a file on her in 1955, which, now that we're in, well, hey, it's 2022 now. I think there's a certain number of years, and after that, the documents you can request by the Freedom of Information Act. I'm not sure what the standard is for that, but a lot of the researchers who do stuff on conspiracy theories and such, usually, after a certain amount of time, you can request that info. And a lot of what they denied, it turns out, hey, they did have a huge case file on her. Deny, hey? Anywho, so they opened their dossier on her in 1955. And throughout this book, there's a lot of twists and turns and dead ends with the, are the documents legit or are they fake? I don't know. Some are real, some are not. It's pretty interesting. So, okay, let's get into Marilyn Monroe's. Who was she talking to that she heard these secrets and all this stuff? So there is the Robert Kennedy and John F. Kennedy connection with Marilyn Monroe, who she was having relations with, and bedside secrets, and they would tell her stuff about Fidel Castro, possibly UFOs and what they knew. And at some point they just, I don't know, she apparently knew a little bit too much. And she kept a diary, and she would write down all these secrets. And a lot of people knew about this diary. Several people that were in her circle knew she actually kept one. So it wasn't just like a rumored thing. And so at some point, this apparently becomes a major issue. So with all the things that kind of lead up to what she knew being a super issue, it's no surprise that even all these years later, people still think that she was killed for what she knew. And another thing too, like with JFK, the day before his death, he went to a couple of places that had some weird connections to the UFO phenomena. He went to the Brooks Air Force Base, where he met with personnel from the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where allegedly the Roswell crash stuff had been taken to. You know, the UFOs and the alien bodies. So that's the alleged home of the mythical Hangar 18, which supposedly was a storage facility for that. And then he also met with staff from Fort Detrick, Maryland, and that is another place that was rumored to have studied alien viruses the day before he died. So it's interesting to the places he went to and people he talked to that had super connections to all this UFO stuff, and then the next day he was killed. So I think he was gonna come out with all this information and they just didn't want him to. But it's more focused on Marilyn in this book. I'm getting a little bit off with the JFK, but they do go into some of that too. Like I said, it's a wild ride and a page turner, and like it's a lot of good information, and just how all the stuff connects and leads to like the next weird tidbit, and all these people that he talks to with background that are in the military and the Air Force, and just the way that Nick Redfern researches all this is, I mean, he's on point. He's got all his ducks in a row, and the connections he's made is just, you're like, oh man, did this actually happen, you know? So yeah, it's just, this book is like revelation after revelation, the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows, and it just makes you question everything. It's a crazy read. So, was Marilyn Monroe killed because of her knowledge of aliens? That's the question, right? Well, I can't get that away if you want to read this book. Will that question be answered in the Diary of Secrets? You'll just have to read it to find out. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to just put the book up here the whole time. I'm a professional. So yeah, this book I read in about a week. It's a lot of information to take in, but it reads well, and it's not super overwhelming, but it is, like I said, it's a lot, and it just gets your brain going where you're like, oh man, I want to delve into this more and know more. It's kind of crazy to think about, you know. And like I said, still so many people after all these years. If there wasn't something to it, I mean, why wouldn't it have been dropped at this point in time? I don't know. This book was great. If you want to get into some weird shit, this is one to read for sure. Well, yeah, like I said, we went to Michigan Paracon, we saw Nick Redfern's panel, and just, it was really good, and this book was really good, and I enjoyed it. And also, if you want to see a picture of, there's Chris and Nick Redfern. I was at the Michigan Paracon, Sault Ste. Marie. Not the best picture, but because the lights are all weird and blurry. But hey, there they are. Yeah. Anywho, I'll put that back up there since I was really bad about having that up the whole time. I'm still new. still getting my book legs. They're kind of like sea legs. I don't know, maybe book legs are more like hands, you know, like your book hands, your book stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about. At this point, I'm just kind of rambling about nothing. Anyway, thank you for joining me here in the Book Nook today. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. And yeah, till next time, we'll be talking about more